The Speedway Classic was a nightmare. The fan experience, the rain delays, Austin Riley getting hurt. But the Braves won, and Hurston Waldrep looked pretty good in the process. Let's talk about it. Yes, welcome on in to Braves Today for Monday, August 4th. Your source of news, notes, and updates on your Atlanta Braves, and proudly part of the Believe Podcast Network, presented to you by FanDuel. I'm your host, Lindsey Crosby. You can follow me on social media at Crosby Baseball. You can follow the show on X, Braves_today. We have a Facebook page and Instagram as well. And you can find all of my written work, BravesToday.com. That's the Braves Today Substack, as this is both a podcast and a newsletter. Quick plug for the newsletter, thing we're not talking about on today's show, about Drake Baldwin's chances at Rookie of the Year. There's a shakeup in that this weekend because of Jacob Misiorowski of the Brewers going on to the injured list. So, FanDuel dramatically changed the odds for everybody on Rookie of the Year. Again, broke down what's going on, where it stands right now, everything. That's over at BravesToday.com. Subscriptions over there, free or paid. Either way, help out what we do a ton. I want to get to the Speedway Classic in general, the problems with the event. I want to get to Hurston Waldrep on the surprise call-up looking really good. But first, we're going to talk about the injury to Austin Riley. Reminder of everything that's going on here. When the game was suspended, Elly De La Cruz is on second, Austin Hays is on first. And Atlanta, so this whole thing, Spencer Strider is supposed to start on Saturday. Because of the rain delay, they bang him. Austin Cox is the guy who's on the mound to start the game. And then the postponement happens. Literally, I want to say it was 3 batters in. TJ Friedl was called out on strikes. Matt McLain singled. Elly De La Cruz singled. 4 batters in. Austin Hays singled that scored McLain and put Elly on second. So Atlanta makes a roster move and calls up Hurston Waldrep. We're going to get more into that in the third segment. But he takes over, 1 out, runners on second and third. Not a great place for a dude making his 2025 debut and only his third ever appearance in the majors to be, right? When the game starts, the very first pitch, double steal, Elly De La Cruz and Austin Hays. This was obviously, they discussed it, they planned it, they're on second and third. And then the next play is the one where Riley gets hurt. Miguel Andujar, trade acquisition late last week by the Reds, shoots a rocket down the line. It's 97 miles an hour. And Riley does that sliding back pick thing. Elly De La Cruz is hung up. There was really almost nothing he could have done right in this situation. Like, he didn't break towards the plate when the ball was hit. He was just into his lead and secondary lead. And that ball, I feel like a lot of times gets through. It doesn't get past Riley. Now he's hung up. If Riley is between him and the bag, but if he goes home, he's going to get in a rundown. So De La Cruz is in a bad place. Like, there's no right decision here. So he does the best possible thing he can do. He starts the rundown by running to third, by running home, but not running that fast, so he can look back and make sure that Austin Hays is advancing to third. If you're going to be out, if you are dead to rights on the base paths, the right thing to do is what Elly De La Cruz did. Make sure the guy behind you can advance as far as possible. So Elly's going home, Austin's chasing him, and Sean Murphy is set up at home, ready for the throw, and for some reason, Austin Riley, instead of making the throw home, he has the ball in his right hand. He's not holding the ball in the glove. He's holding the ball in his throwing hand. For some reason, decides not to throw home. He swaps the ball into his glove, and he breaks into the full sprint and lunges, dives, and tags Elly De La Cruz right before he gets to the plate. Technically not the right move in this situation, right? The right thing to do is to throw to the catcher who's set up in front of the plate, waiting for your throw to tag the runner. If Riley executes the throw, which he should be able to, it's an easy out. But Riley runs him down, dives, made a thing. I put the video on social media, and I pulled the sprint speeds on the play from the research tool, from the MLB research tool. Riley was sprinting faster than Elly De La Cruz was on that play. And again, Elly De La Cruz was not going all out. He was making sure, he was looking behind him, making sure Hayes got to third. But Austin lands pretty hard on his abdomen. Like, he lands pretty hard on his stomach. And so he comes back out. He plays defense in the bottom of the second. But when it's time for him to hit with 2 outs in the third, Luke Williams comes out in his place. And so Luke Williams takes over at third base. The Braves end up calling this, when they put out the message to the media about what happened, third baseman Austin Riley was removed from today's game with lower abdominal pain. Okay. We don't know if he's going to go on the injured list or not. Brian Sitker said after the game that the plan was they were going to evaluate him over the next day or two, see how he feels, before determining if an IL stint was warranted or is warranted. A couple things can be clear here, right? Thing number one, Austin Riley did the play wrong. Austin Riley, the thing to do in that situation, the preferable thing to do is to throw ahead. It's not a guarantee you get the guy, right? It's a situation where if Riley throws it, it makes a poor throw. If Murphy drops it, Elly De La Cruz is like 6'5", 6'6", or whatever. Maybe if you try to flip it over his head, maybe it still cocks him in the helmet or something and bounces away. But the right thing to do in that position is to throw it. Because Elly De La Cruz is one of the fastest players in baseball. There's no guarantee that you're going to run him down either, but Riley does. And he gets hurt. As of time of recording, it is 10 a.m. Eastern time on Monday. We don't have a resolution on this. I honestly don't expect to have one early today. My expectation is you're probably going to see Luke Williams in the lineup on Monday night, assuming they play that game. More on that in a few minutes. And they'll maybe by Tuesday, I think the goal is by Tuesday or maybe even by Wednesday to either have Riley back in the lineup or place him on the injured list. You can backdate these a couple days. You can wait until Tuesday to put Riley on the injured list, and it can be effective as of Monday. You can wait till Wednesday and have it effective as of Monday. It can't be, I have to check the rules here. It's supposed to be effective as of the day after they last played. With the game being scheduled on Saturday, but being played on Sunday, scheduled on Saturday, played on Sunday. The game officially was played on Saturday according to MLB's records. This was a Saturday game. This was not Atlanta winning their first Sunday game since May. Because officially, this game was on Saturday, even though it was resumed on Sunday. But I think you would still have to wait until Monday to put Riley on the injured list, right? I don't think you can post-date it to Sunday because he physically was on the field in competition on Sunday. So they have time. And it's questionable whether or not you even play these first couple games this week against Milwaukee. I'll talk about that later in the third segment. But the point is, this is similar to the Ronald situation. If you have any questions about if he's healthy or not, put him on the injured list, right? Especially if this is the second time he's dealing with this same issue, right? He just went on the injured list before the All-Star break with this same thing. And you played Nacho Alvarez at third. Defensively, Nacho looked really good. Offensively, still a work in progress. But absolutely throw him on the IL if he's not feeling better and back in the lineup by Wednesday. And make the roster move at that point to call up either Nacho or Jonathan Ornelas, who they used on Saturday as the designated 27th man. We're going to get to that in the third segment too, by the way. I have a lot of questions about how that worked. and the disparate treatment the Braves and the Reds got on Sunday with their replacement players. Again, third segment, we're getting to that. I have a lot of thoughts on the Speedway Classic. So, a little frustrating there how that worked out for Riley in what has become a lost season. I talked maybe a week or two ago about how you need Austin Riley to be Austin Riley if this team in 26 is going to get back into playoff contention, right? You need him to be the best version of himself. We will see if he misses time, and if he does, what he looks like when he comes back. I feel like he's probably not going to be out long enough he's probably not going to be out the rest of the year. They would be able to get him back and let him have a couple hot weeks, a month or whatever, before the season ends to have momentum for 26. We'll see what happens. In just a minute, I want to talk about Hurston Waldrep. He was a literally last minute addition to the roster. Got the ball when the game resumed. Looked fantastic. We'll do that next, right here on Braves Today. But first, today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Encase Cards. It's ncascards.com, custom sports card manufacturer. I love these guys. I love what they do. You upload your source photos. It can be whatever. Obviously, the thing that makes the most sense is U Sports. I have these for my kids. My son played t-ball. My daughter played soccer. I have the cards there. I uploaded the image of them from the photo shoot that every team does in U Sports. And then they made a card similar to what you would buy from one of the large manufacturers in a pack, right? Position, team name, number, basic stats if you have them. We didn't have them for T-ball, but if you have them, all of that stuff, you choose the background, you choose the holographic effects, all of that. They print it on high-quality cardstock, they slab it, and then they put it in a custom case, lots of different color options. I chose black because he was with the White Sox, but lots of different colors. Has a built-in stand and everything to go on your dresser. Useful for tons of things, right? As my kids move to new teams, my daughter moved to a new soccer team when she just got older, getting a new card for her new team. When he changes teams, we're going to do a new card for him. Fantasy Football League. My Fantasy Football League has a draft coming up in a couple weeks. We always meet in person. We have cards designed for the winner and the loser of the league last year to go along with the trophy we give the winner. So we're absolutely tons of uses for this. Go to ncasecards.com, ncascards.com, promo code Braves Today. Actually, I think you need the hashtag. So hashtag Braves Today. Gets you $5 off your order and supports the Braves Today podcast. Again, ncasecards, ncascards.com. Welcome back to Braves Today, and I want to talk about Hurston Waldrep in this game. So, he was added on Sunday morning. I mentioned this in the first segment. Took over with runners on first and second and only one out. They immediately steal to be on second and third, and then he gets out of this. Waldrep ended up giving the Braves 5 2/3 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, 2 walks to 4 strikeouts. And the big thing behind Hurston Waldrep had been when we saw him last year, his 2 starts in the majors, and for a good portion of his time in the minors, he was just walking way too many guys. We detailed the mechanical changes he made back in May, both on the newsletter and here on the podcast. And since then, he's looked pretty good. He's alternated some bad starts and some good starts, but he's looked pretty gosh darn good. And what I love is we got the good version of Hurston Waldrep yesterday. Now, some of the stats are still a little bit weird. They had all of the stuff set up for StatCast in the ballpark, but not everything read. He threw 75 pitches. 34 of them are listed as unknown. So there's no velocities, there's no spin rates, none of that stuff. And as I can see, he's the only guy that they didn't know what he did. Correction, no, Brent Suter of the Reds. He was the main bulk reliever that started the game when they resumed on Sunday. He also had 21 of his 49 pitches come in as unknown. And then one of the guys behind him, Lewis May, had 6 of his 18 pitches labeled as unknown. So little bit of issues with StatCast in this game. But what we can say was Hurston Waldrep just did a much better job of being around the zone. And he's more of a well-rounded pitcher now. I still think that unknown was his four-seam fastball. But he threw both four-seamers and sinkers in this game. And then off of that, he worked the splitter, he worked the slider, he worked the curveball, he worked the cutter. If this is to be believed, and we are to say the unknown is a four-seam fastball, and all of these readings and everything are right, Hurston Waldrep is now a 6-pitch pitcher. And he didn't use the splitter a ton. 9 total splitters, 6 swings. He got 5 whiffs on his 6 swings, 1 foul ball. None of them were put into play. And so you can see the path for Hurston Waldrep being much better and being a potential rotation option for Atlanta in 2026. Like, the fact that he can be in and around the zone so much better with his other pitches. Again, we don't have anything on the four-seam fastball. I don't have velocity, spin rates, movements, none of that. But just from watching, it was in the zone plenty. The sinker, 60% zone rate. The cutter, 67% zone rate. Being able to reliably land those 3 pitches in the zone for strikes means that now opposing hitters are susceptible to the splitter dropping below the zone, right? Again, he threw 9 of them. 1 was in the zone. And yet they still swung 6 times. And they whiffed on 5. That's the plan for Hurston Waldrep, right? The slider, he threw 4 of them. They swung once. They did put it into play. It wasn't hard contact. But same idea. Curveball. They didn't swing at any of the curveballs. He got 3 called strikes on it, so he did get some use out of it. But that's the idea, is you throw the fastballs in and around the zone for strikes. And having 3 fastballs now versus just the four-seamer, again, if StatCast is to be believed, means you now have the ability to establish something in the zone with the four-seamer, play something off of that to get a ground ball in the sinker, play something off of that to get weak contact in the cutter, and then get whiffs with the splitter, with the curveball, with the slider, and you have something to bridge all of this, right? If you're using the splitter a ton, like this is the game where the splitter is going to work, the four-seam fastball plays really well off of that. If this is a game where the slider is going to be your pitch today, then the cutter plays really well off of that. It bridges the gap there. If this is a curveball game, the sinker can be effective somewhat. Like, you have multiple options. The cutter can work off of a curveball too, because they can see the spin, but then the break is different on the curveball. So being a 6-pitch pitcher, if this is to be believed, being a 6-pitch pitcher, that is surprisingly hard to say, for Hurston Waldrep is a huge deal, because it now gives him the ability to have a reliable go-to pairing of a strike pitch and a chase pitch for all these different situations. It is a huge deal if this does in fact stick. And looking at what he's done in the minors, he's throwing all 6 of these pitches. I don't think this is a misread. He's thrown four-seamers, sinkers, and cutters in AAA this year. He's thrown sliders, splitters, and curveballs. While I still don't think that the ceiling of Hurston Waldrep is as high as we thought it was when he was drafted. I think the best case scenario we envisioned when Hurston Waldrep was drafted was a number 2, right? A weaker number 2 pitcher, which absolutely is an amazing return for a first-round pick, especially in the back half of the first round. I think the ceiling, like the velocity, wasn't really there like we've seen in the... We've seen him be able to hit 97 or so, 98. He wasn't really doing that on Sunday. But I still think that this is a guy, if everything is working, he is a postseason starter. He is your game 3 guy. You feel comfortable with him. And so now the question is, going into a 2026 season where you are going to be missing multiple pitchers from this year, AJ Smith-Shawver is not walking through that door, at least to start the year. I personally don't expect him to come back after the midpoint of the year either. I don't, like, everybody's talking about, oh, if you do an internal brace, it's 12 months. Yes, you can get back to pitching in 12 months. Is he going to be good enough to beat Atlanta's other rotation options coming off of major elbow surgery? I don't know if he is. But Grant Holmes, we still don't have clarity on the severity of Grant Holmes' injury. But the fact it's been so long, and a lot of what we heard when it first happened, I still have reason, I still think it is an elbow surgery, and I think he's out until 2027. And so you look at what you have coming back. You have Chris Sale coming back. You have Spencer Strider coming back. You have Spencer Schwellenbach coming back. I would put those 3 guys up against any other top 3 in baseball. Honestly, right there. That is fantastic. But after that, you have question marks, right? We're trying to figure out, like, Ronaldo Lopez. He made 1 start this year. He went on the injured list twice down the stretch last year. Is he going to be able to be a starter for you in 2026 from a health perspective? We know the stuff's good enough. From a health perspective, will he be able to do it? I don't know. It's possible, and we're going to do more of this as we get later on down the year. It's possible that Ronaldo Lopez is your closer next year. The contract is not onerous enough where they have to start him to get the value out of this. They can make him a closer. I do think a lot of that depends on how these guys develop. Is Waldrep an option? Joey Wentz is coming back. Is he an option for the rotation? Do they try to stretch Dane Dunning back out? Do they get active in free agency? I've talked about this before. Framber Valdez, Zach Gallen, Michael King, Dylan Cease. There's a lot of big names in free agency this year, and resetting the CBT means your penalties for signing a qualifying offer guy are a lot less onerous than they have been in the past. Ronaldo Lopez is a toss-up. But that number 5 spot, do you want it to be Bryce Elder? Because guess what? If you don't figure out other starters, Bryce Elder is your number 5. And I think we've learned at this point, he could still be a quality major league pitcher. It's probably not going to be in Atlanta. And if you can, your number 1 goal from the pitching staff, outside of figure out a closer, should be find a way to not have Bryce Elder in your opening day rotation. Could Hurston Waldrep be that guy? Maybe. After yesterday, I think it's a lot more likely than it was a month ago. So we'll see. In just a second, I want to talk about the overall issues with the Speedway Classic, right? The visuals were cool. The idea was great. That was it that went right on this. We'll do that next, right here on Braves Today. Final segment of Braves Today, Lindsey Crosby. Let's talk about the Fire Fest of MLB that was the Speedway Classic. Everybody that I've spoken to who was there, I've had people reach out to me. I know people who went. I have friends who went. We have Locked On hosts who went. Both hosts of Locked On Reds were there. It was a nightmare. Everybody I've talked to said it was terrible. Said, the concept is cool, right? The venue is cool. It's cool they got a baseball field into the infield of a raceway. It's the most unique venue for a baseball game in history, from what everybody said. The largest crowd to ever attend a game. And the rain sucked on Sunday. Yes. I'm sorry, Saturday. We know that. The rain was awful. And they should never have started that game in the rain like they did. We saw Braves defenders diving into puddles in the infield, trying to stop balls before they finally banged it. Then they tried to just... Diamond dry doesn't work if it's actively raining, you dummies. They finally just postponed it to Sunday. But the biggest issue, the fan experience. MLB completely botched this in a way that I was honestly shocked, like ignoring the rain delays and the condition of the field and everything. A lot of this speedway was out or almost entirely out of food before the game actually started. And I know there was a rain delay, but still, they almost ran out of beer. Correction, I want to say, if I remember reading this right, talking to people I talked to, they were out of food before the scheduled start time of the game. And they were out of beer by the actual start time of the game. And the funny thing here is, this speedway is used to hosting a lot more people for a NASCAR race than they hosted for this. This is not Bristol's fault. This is MLB's fault. They did this wrong. And some of this is maybe just assuming everything was going to go well on MLB's part. Like, for instance, yes, Bristol Motor Speedway hosts like 140,000 people for a NASCAR race, but you can also bring in your own food and drink. You can bring in your own booze. And the concessions, the setup for concessions at the Speedway is enough to supplement what people are bringing in, and they don't run out for a race. It's not enough to be the only source of food for fans, for even 80,000 fans, on a game day. It's just not. MLB, for some reason, did not account for that. I could have told you that. Every single NASCAR fan who goes to races, you go to their house, they have probably 2 soft-sided coolers that are their NASCAR coolers. I haven't been to a NASCAR race in years. I have a soft-sided cooler in my laundry room that I got for a NASCAR race. You can't take hard-sided coolers. You can't take glass. You can take a soft-sided cooler. I've got a backpack one. I don't know how MLB didn't know that. The sightlines were awful. Getting in and out of there, something that MLBs like to do a lot. When they do these special events, I went to the Rickwood Field game last year. When they do these special events, parking is never anywhere near the actual venue. And they're using shuttles to get you back and forth. Rickwood went okay because it held, 20,000 people, something like that. This was a ton of people, and they could not get them in and out. The beer issues, the food issues. The food was so bad that when they announced how it was going to work on Sunday, they said, you can bring your own food in. They realized the mistake. I guess the Bristol people told them, you really needed to let them do their own stuff. But because MLB mismanaged this so much, because they didn't delay it while it was raining until so long, and then because they tried to start it and then stopped it again and moved it to the next day, there's downstream effects for Atlanta now. Spencer Strider was not able to start on Saturday because of the delay. And then obviously they used Austin Cox. They had to go to somebody else. And they almost didn't get Hurston Waldrep. MLB allowed each team to have a 27th man for this game. I don't know why. But according to Ken Rosendahl, on the broadcast on Sunday, that player on Saturday was required to be a position player. Why? Why do they need an extra man? And then why do you require it to be a position player? Both teams lobbied MLB on Saturday night to let it be a pitcher. MLB agreed. So the Reds used, I think it was Lyon Williamson. He had just been sent down, and they reversed the send down and brought him up for this. Atlanta used Hurston Waldrep. Waldrep was picked up at 5 a.m. in Gwinnett via car service, and him and his girlfriend rode to Bristol in the back of a car. I think he said he got there at 9:30 or something after bathroom stops and whatever. The Reds guy, he was coming 30 or 40 more miles than Hurston Waldrep was, but he got there a lot quicker because the commissioner's private plane went to go pick him up in Cincinnati. Not sure why they got a private plane and we had to drive our guy a couple hours, but neither here nor there. And now Atlanta's changed the rotation for the Brewers series multiple times. It was on Saturday in the game notes. they announced Eric Fedde on Monday, Joey Wentz on Tuesday, Carlos Carrasco on Wednesday. After Strider got scratched, they changed this and they said Fedde on Monday, Strider on Tuesday, Wentz on Wednesday. Hey, Wednesday's fun. Joey Wentz, Jose Quintana, two lefties. Fun little southpaw special there. And then Atlanta came out last night and changed this again and said they're swapped Wentz and Strider. Strider's on Wednesday, Wentz is on Tuesday. It's just everything went wrong for MLB. And the concept is cool. Sure, yeah, let's play a game in a NASCAR track. That's cool. The execution was terrible. MLB completely botched this. If I had the chance to buy tickets and go, I would have been pissed had I been there. And the funny thing, on that rotation note real quick, I'm guessing they moved Strider because they may not even play on Monday and Tuesday. It is supposed to absolutely storm both Monday and Tuesday. It will absolutely just pour. And so they may end up doing a doubleheader on Wednesday. So it's entirely possible this just ends up being a doubleheader on Wednesday and they have to make up one of the Monday or Tuesday games somewhere else. So I get putting Strider there like that. Anyway, just nightmare of a weekend. But hey, the Braves won. Eli White got to host a giant trophy for some reason. Bigger than the World Series trophy. Only trophy Braves are going to win this year. We love to see that. This has been Braves Today for Monday, August 4th. Do me a favor, if you're listening on audio, leave a 5-star review, Apple, Spotify, YouTube Music. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when we drop that next episode. Until next time, this has been Braves Today.